Welcome into the Packers Report. I'm your host, Joey Petersen. On today's show, I'm going to give you 5 Packers players that feels like they're kind of in a make or break year in 2025. We're going to dip into the offense. We're going to dip into the defense as well. But I'm going to give you 5 names that it feels like it's now or never this upcoming season. We're going to start on the defensive line with none other than Lukas Van Ness. And I think if every single person watching this video right now was asked to make the same list that I'm making, I think Lukas Van Ness probably would have been your number one pick as well. This one is going to be the most obvious of every single name you're seeing on here. And the case with Lukas Van Ness, to me, it's not now or never, as in his career isn't over if he doesn't ball out in 2025. That's not what I'm talking about. Basically what I'm saying, if he doesn't improve, it might be time to give up the high hopes that he's ever going to live up to the expectations that followed him with being such a high draft pick. Because if you look from one year to the next, it was a little bit lateral. There were, parts that improved, like quarterback pressures and quarterback pressure rate, improved massively. But he also had, less sacks, less tackles for loss. Almost the exact same amount of tackles. It was a pretty pedestrian move from his first year in the National Football League to his second year in the National Football League. And now he's going into that third year. Again, a guy who was taken with such high draft capital. I think everybody is looking at him and saying, this is the year we're going to find out if Lukas Van Ness is worth his salt. And if we can continue to rely on him or think in our mind, hypothetically, rely on him as being a centerpiece of this defense moving forward for Green Bay. Did you guys know that we have gained over 7,500 subscribers since February? If you want to be one of the next people, one of the next diehard Packers fans to join us right here on the channel, do me one big favor. Hit that subscribe button today and join us for daily videos. Let's go back over to the offensive side of the football. Let's talk about Romeo Doubs. And I have a feeling this one is going to ruffle some feathers, but I'll make it make sense in just a little bit. As you know, it is a contract year for Romeo Doubs, which I believe should be the big definition of it's now or never, because it literally feels like it's now or never with Romeo Doubs. Because you look at the wide receiver room, and this is a different room than it was last year. There's a lot more talent on this room than there was last year. They added Matthew Golden. They drafted Davian Williams, right? They took both of those guys in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Last year, Romeo Doubs could have looked at this room without them in it and said, you know what, even if I'm not great on that contract here, I'm probably safe enough to come back, because who are they going to go to without me in the lineup? Who else are they going to throw the ball to outside of Jaden Reed and Christian Watson? But now with the addition of those 2 guys, it doesn't feel like that anymore. And to make matters a little bit spicier, not only is it him that has a contract year this upcoming season, last year of his rookie deal, but also his wide receiver counterpart, one Christian Watson. And I think if you look at those 2 guys and you think critically here and you think with a mind of an actual NFL GM, I think only one of those guys is going to get extended. I don't think that both will. I'd be surprised if both will. Now, I will say, if Romeo Doubs absolutely balls out, he has the ability to prove to Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, everybody else in this Packers organization, hey, I'm the one who deserves that contract extension. But if he doesn't, then he might not get it. That's why this year's make or break for him, because it could be the last year, if he doesn't have a really spectacular season, of him as a Green Bay Packer. And when you're talking about which of those 2 to keep, there's so many things and so many factors to weigh. Like, you weigh the first one, right? Christian Watson is going to be cheaper because he's coming off an ACL tear in January, right? He's going to cost less money. But Romeo Doubs has been a little bit more consistent. He's played more games in his career as a Green Bay Packer. Christian Watson, though, with his size and his speed, he's got the higher ceiling. So there's so many things to take into account. It's all going to depend on how Romeo Doubs plays in 2025. Which of those 2 guys is going to get extended? You let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Weigh in with your answer. Give me an RD or a CW. Let's stay on the offense side of the football, but let's go to the big boys up front. We're talking about Rasheed Walker, the left tackle for your Green Bay Packers. I think that this is going to be a really, really interesting year for Rasheed Walker because he's just facing a lot of competition. If you look at the depth chart right now, I think as we currently sit, it feels like he's going to be the left tackle week 1. But also, we've heard a lot, and I'll go into this a little bit more detail, about Jordan Morgan and him competing. Obviously, they drafted Anthony Belton with the 2nd round pick in the NFL draft. I don't know if you guys were still hanging out with us at that point or if you guys hadn't subscribed yet. I was absolutely shocked when they selected Anthony Belton. You could go back and watch it. I was very surprised, very confused, because I thought that tackle was not very high on the list of needs for the Green Bay Packers going into the draft. And so when they chose to go with Anthony Belton with their 2nd round pick, that came out of nowhere for me. Now, I do think they regretted it a little bit because obviously things didn't work out with Jair Alexander, and they look back and there were still some really good cornerbacks still available at 54. Trey Amos was one of them. He went 5 picks later, maybe 7 or 6 picks later to the Washington Commanders. Darian Porter was still there. Siobhan Rebel Jr. went the next round to the Dallas Cowboys. Those are 3 guys that I felt like fit the needs of Green Bay more at the time than Anthony Belton did. But obviously Brian Gutekunst didn't feel that way. He felt like he needed a little bit of a left tackle insurance policy, and so he went ahead and drafted Anthony Belton. So it feels like this year for Rasheed Walker is like, Rasheed Walker is like, hey, you go out there, prove that we need to choose you over the younger guy that we drafted to replace you just, 7 or 8 months ago. And then, of course, the Jordan Morgan aspect of it, which Brian Gutekunst talked about in the offseason. He said, I think Rasheed has done a lot of really, really good things for us. We're going to have a lot of competition there, not just at his spot, but all across the offensive line. We got guys like Jordan Morgan, who I think is really going to merge. It would be good to see that competition, and we'll be better for it. I've just got a feeling that this is Walker's final year. Everything that we've heard from Brian Gutekunst and everything we've seen from his actions kind of proved to that. He drafted a left tackle in the 2nd round. He literally said that Jordan Morgan is going to compete for the left tackle spot. Feels like it's now or never, make or break for Rasheed Walker. The next guy that falls in that category is cornerback Keshan Nixon. Now, I kind of feel the way I do about Keshan Nixon a little bit similar to the way I do about Lukas Van Ness, and I'll go into that in just a little bit, but we got to start by looking at that room right now, in the cornerback room, that is. He's your CB1. At the current recording of this video, he is your cornerback 1. Nate Hobbs moves into the other outside corner. Javon Bullard obviously moving down from that safety position. When Jair Alexander left, Keshan Nixon got a little bit of a promotion, okay? And the case with him, I feel like it's similar to Lukas Van Ness. Like, if he doesn't ball out this year, he's not going to lose his job. He's not going to get cut. He's not going to get traded. However, this is the season that we're going to find out if he can be that cornerback 1. And I'll be honest with you, the coverage stats from last year, they're not phenomenal. He allowed a reception percentage of 68.3, allowed 501 yards, 5 touchdowns, a passer rate of 99.7, and then had an interception to 6 pass breakups. I'm going to need those numbers to go up a little bit if I'm trusting this guy to cover the likes of Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, like all the best wide receivers in the game. What say you guys? What is your confidence level in Keshan Nixon? You make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. And make sure to scale it 1 to 10 for me. 1 being the highest, 10 being the lowest. You let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. We're going to wrap this one up with another wide receiver, Dontayvion Wicks. And I feel like Dontayvion Wicks this is just going to be really, really big for, can he, take that step up and stop dropping the football? That's the biggest question with him. Because if you think about it last year, he had a 12.2% drop rate. 4th highest, wait for it, in NFL history. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, it didn't help that Jaden Reed had the highest in NFL history on that same team, but still, regardless, like Dontayvion Wicks, we need those hands to get a little bit better. And this is going to be a big year to figure out if it's going to be happening or not. Now, I have all the faith in him to be able to get open, to run the routes. You look at his route tree and the success rate that he has, like 93.3% success rate on a slant, 84.6 on a flat, 100% on a screen, 87.5 on a corner, 82.4 on an out route. Like, this dude can run routes with the best of them, but he doesn't help himself when he drops the football. And now, kind of like with Romeo Doubs, this wide receiver room actually has some pretty good talent to it. Some pretty impressive players, it feels like. And let's just be real. For Dontayvion Wicks, if the drops continue, he can and he will get buried on that depth chart. We can fall in love with the route running, with the speed, with the athleticism, with the talent, all we want. But if he doesn't do his job of a wide receiver and receive the football, then we can't help it anymore. Make sure you guys got me on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at Joey Petersen 8. The links to both those are in the comments and description of today's video. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. All you got to do is hit that big red sub button down below. It's 100% free, does not cost you a dime, and locks you in for daily coverage of your favorite team in green and gold.